Naval dominance was once measured by the weight of a broadside and the thickness of steel armor. Yet the most destructive vessels ever built rely on flat wooden decks and fragile aluminum aircraft to project military power. They were designed as mobile observation platforms. They became floating, sovereign diplomatic weapons. The Royal Navy required a fast strike vessel to intercept Zeppelins over the North Sea. Converted from an 18,000-ton battlecruiser, she featured an 18-inch gun forward and a 160-foot flight deck aft. 7 aircraft launched during the 1918 Tundern raid destroyed 2 airships. Landing remained suicidal. They ordered a cruiser. They got aviation. Planners recognized that superstructures caused fatal turbulence for returning pilots, altering military history forever. Built on a 14,000-ton Italian liner hull, she provided a flush 565-foot wooden flight deck with 0 obstructions. Commissioned in 1918, she flew no combat sorties but successfully moved 20 aircraft. It was designed to fight. It is remembered for architecture. The United States required an experimental platform to test naval aviation doctrine. Converted from a collier, she displaced 11,000 tons and operated 36 aircraft using primitive catapults at 15 knots. She trained early aviators before conversion to a tender. Japanese bombers sank her during the 1942 Java campaign. America wanted a trainer. The war had other lethal plans. The Imperial Japanese Navy sought a dedicated aviation ship built from the keel up. Displacing 7,000 tons, she measured 552 feet and operated 15 fighters at 25 knots. She provided critical air support during the 1932 Shanghai incident. Eventually, she became a defensive trainer ship. On paper, a frontline strike asset. In practice, an evolutionary stepping stone. Britain wanted the first purpose-designed carrier to integrate a starboard island superstructure. Costing roughly £2 million, the 10,000-ton ship accommodated 20 aircraft. Delayed until 1924, her small air group rendered her obsolete rapidly. Japanese bombers sank her near Ceylon in 1942. History remembered her innovative architecture. The crews remembered her completely inadequate air defense systems. The United States Navy transformed massive battlecruiser hulls into extremely fast fleet carriers, changing naval history. Displacing 36,000 tons, she carried 78 aircraft and 8 useless 8-inch guns. During the 1942 Battle of the Coral Sea, she launched vital defensive strikes before absorbing multiple fatal Japanese torpedo strikes. 2 built, 1 lost. The cold Pacific math tells us the absolute rest. Japan required a long-range fleet carrier to project absolute dominance across the ocean. Displacing 36,000 tons, she measured 855 feet and launched 66 aircraft. During the 1941 Pearl Harbor attack, her squadrons devastated American battleships. 6 months later at Midway, a single American bomb ignited her fueled aircraft. They ordered tactical dominance. They got rapid structural destruction. France needed a modern carrier to match emerging naval threats in the Mediterranean. Converted from a 22,000-ton dreadnought, she hauled 32 aircraft, but crawled at a dismal 21 knots. By 1940, she merely transported gold and planes across the Atlantic, never launching a single wartime combat strike. On paper, a fleet flagship. In practice, a heavily armored slow freighter. America built a balanced carrier force, prioritizing both strike range and damage control. Displacing 25,000 tons, she carried 90 aircraft and defended herself with 8 5-inch guns. At Midway in 1942, her mechanics miraculously patched Coral Sea damage in 72 hours, allowing her air wing to ambush Japanese carriers. She solved a strategic crisis. It created a tactical naval legend. The United States Navy required resilient platforms to survive intense, sustained Pacific combat. Operating 90 aircraft across an 809-foot deck, this 25,000-ton survivor fought in 20 major engagements. She withstood multiple kamikaze strikes and bombs, yet continuously remained operational when others rapidly sank. History remembered the admirals. The crews remembered the relentless damage control pumping. Great Britain needed an integrated flight deck to survive the brutal Atlantic weather, redefining military aircraft history. Displacing 22,000 tons, she operated 60 aircraft and featured a heavily armored 2-level hangar. In 1941, Her biplanes successfully crippled the Bismarck, proving carriers could hunt battleships before a submarine sank her. She was designed to escort fleets. She is remembered for sinking Leviathans. Japan engineered the ultimate strike carrier free from early naval treaty tonnage restrictions. Displacing 29,000 tons, she hurled 72 aircraft at an unprecedented 34 knots. Throughout 1942, her veteran squadrons consistently outfought American pilots until a submarine ambushed her during the Philippine Sea Battle. 3 built, 3 lost. The brutal wartime math clearly tells the historical rest. The Royal Navy demanded carriers capable of surviving direct hits from land-based bombers. Protected by 3 inches of deck armor, this 23,000-ton ship sacrificed hangar space, carrying only 36 aircraft. In 1941, she absorbed 6 direct Stuka bomb hits and sailed away entirely under her own reliable power. On paper, an underarmed carrier. In practice, an unsinkable fortress. America designed an industrial war machine capable of being mass-produced without severe compromise. Displacing 27,000 tons, she carried 96 aircraft and featured an armored side elevator. Between 1942 and 1945, 24 hulls launched, completely overwhelming the Japanese Navy through sheer numerical superiority and heavy defensive firepower. They ordered a simple warship class. They got a complete naval empire. The Pacific Fleet desperately needed immediate flight decks, while larger vessels remained under construction. Built upon 10,000-ton cruiser hulls, these light carriers operated 30 aircraft at 31 knots. Despite carrying half the standard aircraft load, they provided essential air cover during the 1943 island-hopping offensive. America wanted heavy fleet carriers. The brutal timeline dictated a lighter compromise. Japan constructed an armored carrier specifically designed to withstand immense explosive battle damage, advancing military engineering history. Displacing 33,000 tons, she carried 65 planes and featured thick concrete deck plating. During the 1944 Battle of the Philippine Sea, a single American submarine torpedo ruptured her unarmored aviation fuel lines, causing explosion. She solved the bomb problem. It created a catastrophic vapor explosion hazard. The Japanese Navy desperately converted a massive battleship hull into a support carrier. Displacing 71,000 tons, she carried 47 planes and measured 872 feet. While transiting to a safer shipyard in 1944, 4 American torpedoes struck her incomplete hull before she ever launched combat aircraft. It was designed to save the empire. It is remembered for sinking rapidly. America required an armored deck carrier to counter heavy new post-war aviation threats. Displacing 45,000 tons, she launched 130 planes and served for 47 years. She missed the Second World War entirely, but launched the first strikes during the 1991 Gulf War. History remembered the massive armored hull. The crews remembered the cramped, chaotic hangars constantly flooding. Britain required a disposable light carrier that could be built quickly by civilian shipyards. Displacing 13,000 tons, she launched 48 aircraft and cost only £2 million. Arriving too late for major combat in 1945, these cheap hulls ironically formed the post-war naval backbone for numerous foreign navies. On paper, a temporary fix. In practice, a global export standard. The United States Navy demanded a supercarrier capable of launching heavy nuclear jet bombers. Displacing 60,000 tons, she featured a 1,000-foot deck and carried 80 modern jets. In 1967, a devastating deck fire killed 134 sailors, exposing severe flaws in carrier damage control doctrine. 1 built, 1 burned. The tragic defensive math completely tells the absolute rest. France needed an independent nuclear strike carrier to project power outside NATO command structures. Displacing 32,000 tons, she launched 40 aircraft and reached 32 knots. From 1961 until 1997, she conducted extensive combat operations in Lebanon and Yugoslavia, firmly establishing French maritime autonomy, captured in every modern war documentary. They ordered a NATO asset. They got an instrument of pure French sovereignty. The Soviet Union desired a hybrid aviation cruiser heavily armed with anti-ship cruise missiles. Displacing 43,000 tons, she operated 30 helicopters and vertical lift jets, alongside 8 massive missile tubes. Throughout the 1970s, her unconventional layout confused Western analysts, but severely restricted her actual aviation sortie rates. It solved the missile platform problem. It created a severe aviation launch bottleneck. America built a nuclear Leviathan designed to project continuous air superiority anywhere on Earth. Displacing 100,000 tons, she carries 90 aircraft and can operate for 20 years without refueling. During 1991, her decks launched thousands of precision strikes, completely dismantling the entire Iraqi military infrastructure. She redefined modern warfare. The Pentagon wanted a Cold War deterrent. The desert environment had other highly lethal and violent operational plans. Britain sought a cheap anti-submarine cruiser after canceling their expensive conventional fleet carrier program. Displacing 22,000 tons, she carried 22 aircraft and introduced the iconic ski jump ramp. During the 1982 Falklands War, her tiny complement of Sea Harriers successfully defended the fleet against overwhelming Argentine air attacks. It was designed to hunt submarines. It is remembered for winning dogfights. The Royal Navy continuously upgraded a lightweight conventional hull to handle modern jet operations. Displacing 28,000 tons, she operated 20 aircraft and survived multiple defense budget cuts. Reconfigured as a commando carrier, she successfully led the 1982 Falklands Task Force before being sold to the Indian Navy. History remembered the political drama. The crews remembered her absolute reliability. Russia required an aviation cruiser to protect its ballistic missile submarine bastions from Western aircraft, standing out among every warship ever built. Displacing 58,000 tons, she carries 24 fighters and relies on a ski jump without catapults. Since 1991, severe engine failures and chronic mechanical fires have restricted her deployments, constantly requiring a specialized tugboat escort. On paper, a fleet defender. In practice, a maintenance nightmare. France engineered a nuclear-powered flagship to maintain autonomous power projection into the 21st century. Displacing 42,000 tons, she carries 40 Rafale jets and cost over €3 billion. Despite early 1990s propeller failures and radiation leaks, she successfully executed thousands of strikes during the 2001 Afghanistan campaign. 1 built, 0 lost. The successful math completely tells the absolute rest. Italy designed a dual-purpose flagship capable of launching jets and landing mechanized ground forces. Displacing 27,000 tons, she carries 20 F-35 jets and reaches 29 knots. Commissioned in 2008, she transformed the Italian Navy into a true expeditionary force capable of autonomous deep strike missions. They ordered a regional defensive flagship. They got a global strategic strike asset. Britain required a massive twin-island carrier to restore the continuous at-sea deterrence they had lost. Displacing 65,000 tons, she operates 40 F-35 fighters without relying on complex catapult systems. Entering service in 2017, severe budget constraints continually forced the Royal Navy to rely on American aircraft. She solved the deck space problem. It created a severe procurement one. China purchased an incomplete Soviet hull to jumpstart their domestic naval aviation training program. Displacing 60,000 tons, she operates 40 aircraft and relies on outdated steam turbine engines. Commissioned in 2012, she never engaged in combat, but successfully taught a completely inexperienced Navy how to launch jets. Beijing wanted a casino ship. The military had other plans. America built a completely digitized supercarrier utilizing experimental electromagnetic catapults designed to launch every aircraft ever built by the Navy. Displacing 100,000 tons, she carries over 75 aircraft and cost $13 billion. Commissioned in 2017, severe software failures delayed her first deployment by 5 years, frustrating command. It was designed to increase sortie rates. It is remembered for budget overruns. China constructed its first completely domestic carrier to project power into the contested South China Sea. Displacing 66,000 tons, she carries 44 aircraft and features an optimized ski jump angle. Entering service in 2019, she continuously conducts aggressive encirclement exercises around Taiwan, demonstrating rapid operational maturity. History remembered the stolen Soviet designs. The crews remembered the genuine domestic engineering. Japan designed a flat-deck aviation destroyer specifically to circumvent their pacifist post-war constitutional restrictions. Displacing 27,000 tons, she operates 14 helicopters and measures 814 feet. In 2018, Tokyo quietly modified the deck to support F-35 jets, effectively recreating their lost carrier capability. On paper, a defensive helicopter platform. In practice, a sovereign stealth strike carrier. India demanded a massive indigenous carrier to counter rising Chinese naval influence across the Indian Ocean. Displacing 45,000 tons, she carries 30 aircraft and incorporates 4 imported gas turbine engines. Commissioned in 2022, after 13 years of delays, she cemented India as a true blue-water naval power. One built, 0 lost. The strategic geopolitical math completely tells the rest. China engineered a sophisticated flat-top carrier equipped with domestic electromagnetic catapults to challenge American dominance. Displacing 80,000 tons, she launches heavy airborne early warning aircraft and operates roughly 60 jets. Launched in 2024, she officially erased the technological gap that had defined Western naval supremacy for decades. They ordered a regional deterrent. They got a global superpower vessel.